October 30th, Sportscast. If you haven't yet, please subscribe on all our channels, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. And if you're in iTunes, please leave a rating and review. It will help us out tremendously. And, of course, visit us on thesportscast.net. This episode is brought to you by InstaBible. Get your Bible on your iPhone. InstaBible for iOS. Visit on instabibleapp.com. Number 6, Florida versus number 8, Georgia. Interesting scenario. SEC East Championship game, they're calling it. And, of course, Georgia was ranked number 2 early on this year. Florida was 10th. The tables have turned. Florida is a much better team than people were expected to see. And to join us to talk to us a little bit about Gator football, Mr. Ryan Christa. Welcome back to the Sportscast.
Santiago, are you ready for the world's largest outdoor cocktail party Saturday in Jacksonville?
I'm ready. Of course, the game will be played in Jacksonville, neutral ground, but I still think it tilts more towards Florida. People are saying Georgia. I think Florida is going to handle this game pretty well. I mean, after seeing what the Gamecocks did to Georgia, I think Florida could do the same.
Oh, absolutely, Santiago. When I was mapping out the season for the Gators this year, I expected them to come in with this record, one loss to LSU. So the season's going as I expected, when I'm making predictions, I'd say, well, Georgia's a really good team, and they are a really good team. This will probably talk this up. They're probably going to be a loss because I think we're 1 year away. But, losing, Felipe Franks, while it's terrible for him, we're really flourishing under Kyle Trask. It's a lot different offense. He doesn't have that big arm that Felipe Franks has, but he's just so consistent. He runs the offense well. He doesn't make those knucklehead decisions that, Felipe Franks does. Is he going to shoot a 60-yard touchdown pass in the air? No. But, our offense, he just got to the next level. Are we going to struggle running the ball against Georgia? Absolutely. Our offense line is still our Achilles heel. They don't get much push. But, one thing with Dan Mullen, if you give him time, he's going to scheme up some things. And that's what Dan Mullen helps us, that great X's and O's. And Santiago, I think that's the biggest advantage that the Gators have is, Dan Mullen, I think, is a better game coach than Kirby Smart.
Yes, which, Mullen has proven against Auburn. LSU, they came close, but obviously LSU had a better talent and a quite fierce offense. Let's look into the breakdown of the game. Georgia's defensive backs against Florida receivers. How do you see that matchup?
Florida's, I think, strength of their team is their strength in numbers on their wide receiver core. There's no one with eye-popping numbers. Why is that? Because, they're playing 8 and 9 wide receivers every single game, and they're all game changers, and really what's helped Florida's offense in the past game is the addition of a position we haven't seen that much success from, and that's the tight end position. Kyle Pitts is putting up some great numbers. I think what Florida is going to do, does Georgia have those game-changing cornerbacks that they do? No. But they're solid at the cornerback. They're solid at every position. They recruit well. But what I think, in Dan Mullen, they're going to put on their wide receivers in the best position. I think you're going to see a lot of throws out into space and, and try to get our cornerback, our receivers, to break a tackle and get some, bigger gains, with Grimes and Jefferson and Cleveland. We've got a lot of shifty players, and we're getting back our most shiftiest player, and that's Kadarius Toney, has been out for quite a few weeks with a broken collarbone, so that'll help us getting him back in this game.
Another matchup people are looking at is Georgia's offensive line against Florida's front seven. How do you see that?
That's where the Gators are going to have I think another trouble is we talked. I just said Achilles heel of Florida is the talent they have on the lack of developed talent right now, the offensive line. Well, Georgia, might not have the best offensive line in college football. They might go to Oregon, but I would put them in number 2. They just work well together. They're big and they're strong, and when we know Georgia, they're going to try to run the ball, and that it's going to be very tough. Florida's under Ty Grantham is going to throw a lot of different blitz packages at you. They might not try to get to the quarterback. They're going to try to prove to try to create some havoc and put some doubt into Jake Fromm. But I think the Gators are going to have trouble stopping their run with just their front four. They're going to have to send some run blitzes, and that may leave their defense, their back end a little bit shorthanded. But Florida's good news is that they're getting Jabari Zuniga back and Jonathan Bernard, who missed the South Carolina game. So they got 2 weeks off, with the bye week. So they're going to be 100% no, but they're going to be out in the field, and those are two of the better defensive linemen in the SEC.
Georgia's defense versus Kyle Trask and Kyle Pitts.
Overall, like I said, Georgia's got some monsters, Up front, I think South Carolina proved that you can run the ball against Georgia. And I don't think, I think South Carolina's got a pretty decent offensive line and probably a little better than Florida's. But overall, I think Florida's going to lean heavy on the passing game, control passing game, a lot of short passes. They may be labeled as passes, but really they're just, extended handoffs out to the wide receivers. I just don't think Florida's got the girth up front to just be able to run the ball, which I think that's what Dan Mullen did. Expect to see a little bit of Emory Jones in this game too. We didn't see him a lot against South Carolina, but we did see him a lot against LSU. And I think what you're going to see is you're not going to see Emory Jones just take the ball and run. You're going to see him throw the ball. Because he does have a very good arm. He's maybe not as accurate as Kyle Trask, and that's why he's not the starter, but he's an elite athlete, and we're going to try to get him into space.
Jake Fromm versus the defensive coordinator of Florida, Todd Grantham.
Oh, they're going to, like we said a few minutes ago, Todd Grantham, he's got some exotic blitzes. He's going to try to get to the quarterback. But anything, he's just going to try to create havoc. We're going to rush the passer. And, last year, we struggled against Georgia's passing game. But we did not. We didn't have Marco Wilson all year, and C.J. Henderson missed that game. So, we have Trey Dean, who right now is playing safety, and, C.J. McWilliams, who's, no longer even with us on the team, playing cornerback. So, this team is, going to be a lot better defensively against the Georgia wide receivers, which I think is Georgia's weakness right now. They got Cal transfer Demetrius Robinson and Miami transferred Cager, and then they do have a 5-star wide receiver Pickens out of Alabama, who's very good. I just think that's definitely the weakness of the Georgia team right now is their wide receivers. So I think that's why you're going to see Florida throw a lot of run blitzes to stop the run, and put their cornerbacks and safeties on islands, and hopefully they'll be able to cover the Georgia wide receivers.
According to 538 projection poll, a Florida loss would leave the Gators with a 2% chance of making the playoffs. Meanwhile, a Georgia loss will put the Bulldogs at less than 1%.
Yeah, absolutely, Santiago. This is a playoff elimination game. We know the winner is in the driver's seat to get to the SEC East Championship and control their destiny to get to the playoffs. The loser still kind of controls their own destiny to get to the year 6 bowl, but most likely definitely not the playoffs. So yes, this is a de facto a playoff football game on Saturday in Jacksonville.
This makes this contest even more important than the big LSU-Alabama Week 11 showdown, since the loser of that game still has at least an 18% chance of reaching the playoff.
Yeah, both teams with reputation and what's left on their schedule still has a lot of chance to, put a lot of quality wins on the board, when we're talking about LSU and Alabama. Well, Georgia, Florida, definitely, this is really their last big game for both of those teams. So that's why it's so important to win this game. That's the tension. Next week's game is going to be more important to see who goes to the SEC West champion, who goes to Atlanta to face the winner of probably Georgia, Florida. But yes, the two teams are going to make it in any conference. They'll probably be the SEC and probably the loser of LSU and Alabama.
I believe the deciding factor for this game, Ryan, is Florida's ability or inability to get pass rushers to get rushers in Jake Fromm's face. Their defense.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Like that creating that havoc. You're not going to always get to the quarterback, but when you let Jake Fromm sit there in the pocket and throw, he's going to have success. But if you can get that pass, Georgia isn't necessarily, like LSU and get that ball out of their hands quickly. They're going to play action fake. They're going to go longer routes. Their passing game's more in big chunks. So, they're going to, you want to get that pressure because you don't want to get those receivers in the field. So, yes, just making Jake Fromm feel uncomfortable. And that's, Santiago, honestly, that's what South Carolina did so well against the Bulldogs a couple weeks ago, was just the constant pressure they got on Jake Fromm.
I really do think Florida will win this game. I'm not sure about you. You have your doubts. Justin has his doubts about Alabama. Tyler had his doubts with Oregon against Washington. You have your doubts against Georgia. I am very optimistic Florida will win this match.
Santiago, 2 weeks ago we both lost the game, Georgia and Florida. Florida lost the game on the road against the top, team in the country. Georgia lost the game at home against a team that's probably not going to go to a bowl game. So, the feeling is very good right now, in the Florida fan base. But, this team, they recruit very well, Georgia. They've got a lot of depth. They just, even in the wins this year, even last week against Kentucky, 21-0. Jake Fromm throws, for 40 yards at tops. Did not look good. I know the game was played in a rainstorm, but he didn't look comfortable. They had a hard time running the ball consistently. The big thing Florida's going to have to do, and I think the major key is, we all know, the best player in Georgia's team is Swift, the running back. If you got a chance to take them down, you got to take them down. How Georgia gets good is, you stop him at the line of scrimmage, Swift falls forward for 4 yards, And if you're tackling him after 4 yards, you got to tackle him because that's what, they're going to make their punishment. They take a 4-yard run, you miss a tackle, and turn it into a 40-yard run. And that's been Florida's issue against Georgia the last couple of years, is tackling, the running back, and I let too many big games.
Yep. The Georgia Bulldogs will play the Florida Gators this Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Is at the Jaguar Stadium, right?
Yeah, and downtown Jacksonville.
Downtown Jacksonville.
Something I haven't been to, but Santiago, I'd love to check that off my bucket list. It just looks really awesome to watch on TV. Literally the stadium is right down the middle, 50-50. So obviously I know the game is a lot closer to Florida than it is to Georgia. But, in the way the game is played, it's 50-50. There's, after every play, one crowd is cheering, the other crowd isn't cheering. I don't think there's a big advantage, since the game is close to Florida, But, it's just, the rivalry is, there's not, I don't think, a lot of hatred, but there's just a lot of respectful dislike between those two teams, because the game is so important. Usually the winner of that game is going to go to the SEC East Championship. And as far as I know, lately, I think in the last, 7 or 8 years, that's probably what's been it.
I believe so. I think Missouri is still in the run for it as well, I believe.
Yeah, they do. But, Santiago, Missouri, 2 weeks ago, they're staying undefeated in the SEC East. And we wouldn't be talking about this game to be an SEC East championship. But since then, Missouri is lost on the road at Vanderbilt, and then they just lost last week to Kentucky. So they have 2 conference losses, but they still do play both Georgia and Florida. And Missouri is a team that Florida can't overlook because they've lost them pretty bad the last 2 years. So whether Florida wins or loses this game, it will be a challenge for the Gators to go to Columbia, Missouri in a couple weeks to get a victory.
Missouri is like the Chicago Bulls of college football of the SEC. So we'll see. We'll see if they get in.
Yeah, they don't. They're not flashy. They don't have a lot of star power. They play well, but maybe the wheels are falling off this wagon here, with the last two losses. I mean, losing to Vanderbilt is pretty inexcusable this year. Vanderbilt was coming off a 30-point loss to UNLV, Santiago. So that's not a good look for the Tigers.
It does not. Speaking about road teams, the World Series, only road teams are winning. Will it happen tonight?
Santiago, that is crazy. Not only is that the first time in baseball, that's the first time between baseball, hockey, and basketball that in a 7-game series that the road team has won the first 6 games. That's pretty crazy. So, Max Scherzer versus Zach Greinke, 2 future Hall of Famers, 2 former Cy Young winners. This is the best you can get in baseball, Santiago. If you look at the pitchers the last couple of nights, the pitchers look gassed. These starters for both teams have gotten a lot of innings this year throughout the season. I don't know how much each, starters got left in the tank. Strasburg did great last night for the Nationals, but you definitely saw that Verlander definitely hit that wall last night. It's something that you usually don't see, but
he choked.
At the end of the playoffs, it's tough to pitch a lot of innings, and it'll be interesting to see Scherzer, who missed Game 5 start because of a back spasm, says he's okay, but even yesterday during warm-ups, his usual pre-day pitching routine looked like he was in a lot of pain. So we'll see how many innings he goes. I don't expect him to go long. I expect him to go 3 or 4 innings, try to set the tone for the Nationals.
Yeah, last night the Washington Nationals beat the Houston Astros 7-2.
7-2.
Forcing a winner-take-all Game 7 tonight. Strasburg continues to be a postseason dominator. What happened to Verlander? He choked last night, poor pitching. And you're right, Scherzer, I believe he had a cortisone shot on Sunday, so that starts to kick in hopefully by today. And, of course, Rendon had a great home run. I think that was the game right there when he hit that home run.
Yeah, it's 3-2 at that point, Santiago, and we had just watched one of the most craziest plays ever, where the umpire called interference on the runner, and it looks like the Astros, won the review, or the play couldn't be reviewed, and it looks like they had all the momentum. They're going to get out of this inning, and there you go, Anthony Rendon, hits the home run, breaks the game wide open, and, the rest is going to say it's history, but between Rendon and Solo, the Nationals haven't missed a beat without losing Bryce Harper, this year.
Yeah, something to look at tonight. The game's at 8:07, Game 7. Low-rated World Series so far, but maybe tonight things might turn around for the ratings. Looking forward to it. I still think the Nationals will win this match, but we'll wait until game predictions just to hear what Ryan says. Unexpectedly, Joe Flacco was put into the injury reserve for the Denver Broncos, and it was kind of weird because on Sunday he was complaining about the team and the calls, and he looked healthy then, and then 2 days later he became injured. Is there something going on inside the locker room there?
This is a team and franchise in turmoil, Santiago. They just traded away their best player, and Emmanuel Sanders, our best offensive player, for not much, but just after he got disgruntled after play calling, the OC, the offense, this team hasn't scored more than 24 points in almost a year. Santiago only scored a touchdown the last 2 games, a touchdown each in the last 2 games. They're very frustrated. The defense played great last. I'll put this in the picture for the audience. Defense is playing good. They're up 13-12. A couple of minutes left. They have the ball at the coach's 40-yard line. It's 3rd and 5. You get a first down, the game is over. Denver, instead of trying to get a first down, runs the ball right up the middle, plays cautiously, punts the ball back to the Colts, and the Colts, in Adam Vinatieri fashion, beat the Broncos at the last second, and the Broncos now have lost 3 games in the last 30 seconds of the game.
Yeah, like
so,
the Broncos.
There's just a lot of frustration.
Yeah, a lot of frustration. Obviously, I know that Flacco is, coming from Harbaugh type of coaching, which is, I don't know if it's a championship level, but probably near it, versus Fangio, kind of not many people know much about it, and he's probably more old school than anything else.
Yeah, they're definitely a defensive first play. You know, the play calling all year has been, you know, I not say bad. It's just been close to the vest. That you know they try to win by defense. You know, defense have played well. And the 3 losses they lost in a minute are games they played well, and you know they just couldn't get that important stop. And it, you know, if they win those 3 games, you know the whole season's different. You know, and they're probably not complaining. You know, about play calling. So yes, Flacco was getting massages during the game for his neck, so I'm sure it's a little bit of an issue. But you know, after you call out the coaches, it doesn't surprise me he got, you know, quote unquote, you know, put on the bench because of the bad neck, you know, because they're playing a player in Brandon Allen, you know, who is really no value to the future of the team. You know, he was just basically brought in to hold a clipboard until Drew Lock come back. So expect when Drew Lock is healthy enough to play that he'll be the starter for the rest of the season for the Broncos.
Flacco is expected to miss expected to miss 5 to 6 weeks. They lost against the Colts 15-13, just like Ryan said in the last 30 seconds. They play against the Browns this Sunday at 4:25 p.m. in Denver. Like I said, it's a possible win. They could get that win maybe, but of course Brandon Allen is starting, not the future of the Broncos. If it was Greer, maybe have more of a chance, but we'll see if the Browns, you know, put it together as well. Which was a good game against New England this past Sunday, in some ways.
Yeah, you know, this is a team. You know, we talk about poor coaching. You know, they gave the head coaching job to Freddie Kitchens, who had no head coaching experience. He, you know, basically got the job because of how good he was a play caller last year, and it's showing signs that he's not really head coaching material. Some of his, you know, game management is not good. I mean, the hope was, you know, 2-5 coming off a bye, going to New England, that they put up a good play. Well, you know, the ball didn't bounce their way. You know, they fumbled. You know, you can't turn the ball over against the Patriots because they'll make you pay, and they never really had a shot on Sunday.
The detail that the Patriots had this past Sunday was incredible. They definitely showed up to win. Sanu had a good first day. He had a few catches. Not much exciting, but we'll see what happens in the Patriots' undefeated season.
You know, the Patriots are so. You know, this is not your you know, your father's Patriots. You know, the ones we grew up watching. You know, 10 years ago, where they're high flying. You know, they're throwing the ball. This is a defensive first football team that play. You know, tries to run the ball. Tom Brady isn't putting up high gouging numbers. He just doesn't turn the ball over. You know, and they, you know, they kind of play, you know, ball control, you know, football, you know, which is not their, you know, calling card years ago, you know, where they were opening it up and, you know, with Randy Moss, you know, Wes Welker, you know, this team, you know, they go, you know, keep the ball 3rd and short, and they're going to get the ball. I don't mean with the change and, you know, run the ball, Michelle, White, you know, they don't have, you know, those playmakers. They're missing Gronk, you know. You know, in this defense, you know, people would have a hard time naming 5 people off that defense. But
Hightower,
they, you know, Hightower is, you know, having a great year. You know, and Gilmore's having a great year. But Charles Van Noy, these are guys that, you know, are kind of other people's rosters. You know, they're not household names that, you know, this team. But you know, Bill Belichick being the defensive wizard is probably loving this team more than he's loved other teams.
Patriots run so far, possible last season of Brady and the Patriots?
You never know. I mean, he's not getting hit, Santiago, so unless something happens in the offseason the rest of the year, I see him stopping, but we'll see.
I don't know. His house is on sale. His trainer's house is on sale, but that could be nothing. Maybe they just want to downgrade to a different house, and it's happening all at the same time. So,
yeah, you can't look into little things like that. Santiago will drive you crazy, but it's just Tom Brady, you know, the way he takes care of his body and the Patriots way of doing things, and Bill Belichick, people, get frustrated by the Patriots, but don't get frustrated. Just enjoy how good they run their team. Cheer for the Patriots, but just the way they take care of their business each week, and their teams adapt to what their team is like, and they're selfless, no one's putting up crazy numbers offensively or defensively. Everybody just does their job, and that's why they're winning every week. Uh, and in the same way, it's just watching San Francisco put that team together. A team where John Lynch, the GM president, was probably in a hot seat going into this year. He's made a lot of bold moves, a lot of draft picks, and all of a sudden this year everything's clicking. All those moves that people were questioning, they're all turning out good now. And really the last piece we're waiting for is Jimmy Garoppolo to stay healthy and put together a good season. Like we said, they acquired Emmanuel Sanders from the Broncos. They a great offensive line.
Nick Bosa.
Defense, Nick Bosa, what a great pick that was. And
he should be Rookie of the Year.
Thank the Cardinals for, yeah. Oh yeah. Thank the Cardinals for picking Kyler Murray instead of Nick Bosa as number one. So they got handed that on a silver tray. But DeForest Buckner, shout out to our man Tyler Turner's Oregon Ducks for producing him out there. But he's another great player who's playing at MVP level.
There you have it. San Francisco, I believe, are the real deal. NFC's wide open, but San Francisco is undefeated. But I still like the Saints. Ryan probably agrees with that one.
Oh, yeah. Saints, we were talking about a month and a half ago, Drew Brees goes down with injury. They have an awful game against the Rams, and everybody's thinking, this is the end of the line for the Saints. But instead, Teddy Bridgewater comes in, goes 5-0, and Drew Brees comes back last week and has a nearly perfect performance, and all is good. It's definitely shaping up to be, a Saints 49ers NFC championship game, but you can't discount how good Aaron Rodgers is playing the last couple weeks for the Packers. So,
yeah, that's right.
The NFC is definitely wide open. Except for the NFC East, I feel like that's a little bit of a dumpster fire right now, and no one's really taking hold of that. But I do. In that fight, I do think that, the way the Eagles beat up on the Bills last week, they seem to be coming into their own way. They got a lot of good wins. They went to Green Bay and they won. They went to Buffalo and won. Those are, tough games. They just got to take care of the little games and the games they should win, and they'll be okay.
And there you have it. That's our good NFL update. Anything else before we head into the big, long list of game predictions?
Oh, it's, quick update on the NBA is off and running. It's hard to take too many takeaways other than last night, that performance by Anthony Davis, Santiago, 40 points and 20 rebounds, 3/4 of action, seems to be adjusting quite well to the LA life.
Things are gelling for them, yeah. How about the Warriors? I know they're 1-2, but is this just, maybe too early to tell what's going to happen with them?
Yeah. Give it a sample size of at least 10 games, Santiago. We try not to make too many judgments. This is an 82-game season, and I know in the preseason that they're not playing a lot together, so it is finding their way. This team, when you got a big chunk of your team is, Klay Thompson, and he's probably not going to play this year, so they're not going to.
Yeah, what is that? I mean, usually for an ACL recovery, it's like 6-7 months, even up to 8, and his timetable looks like he's able to come back after February. Is that something they just want to play it safe?
Yeah, it sounds like it is. All reports after surgery in June was that he'd be back by March for the playoffs. But by then, Santiago, if they don't turn things around, they won't be in the playoff hunt. But when you got Steph Curry, one of the greatest scorers in the NBA, and D'Angelo Russell, they just got to learn to play together. They lack a lot of, depth talent, losing Sean Livingston and Andre Iguodala. Those are big pieces, Santiago,
It is big pieces, and they're definitely, you're definitely seeing it right now. But we'll see how things kind of pan out. And, I'm sure Steph Curry will be a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah, he's going to, he'll probably put in an MVP type season, and I think he's going to have to keep this team in playoff form. But I would not be surprised, if injuries will pile up here soon. You're going to look to see some. One move I would, a team that's probably not going to go anywhere this year, and that's the Cleveland Cavaliers. Look for them to probably deal Kevin Love sometime in the next couple of weeks, before, at least definitely before the February trade deadline.
Kevin Love will be a big asset, hopefully in Miami, because I know we need someone else. I know Chris Paul is rumored, but that those rumors kind of faded out.
That's another name that will probably be moved as long, and so I think the Thunder are holding out to see if they can put together a team this year. But yeah, because once you trade Chris Paul, you're not going to get anything in return for him just because his contract is so big. So you're seeing what you can do with him because you got, or they're going to have to pay his salary somewhere else. So why don't you just try to see if you can make a season out of it? And that's what the Thunder is doing.
And there you have it. Let's head into game predictions. Are you ready?
Let's go.
TCU at Oklahoma State.
Oh, two teams that got, some big wins last week. TCU was a big win over Texas, and Oklahoma State being Iowa State. I'm going to go with Mike Gundy and the Cowboys in this game for Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. Ole Miss at Auburn.
Here's another, something we haven't talked about, just came out today, is that Auburn backup quarterback Joey Gatewood is transferring out of the program.
Correct, backup.
So,
Bo Nix.
That's a team chemistry issue. I don't think it's going to involve this game because I think they're a lot better than Ole Miss. A team I thought, could, ruffle a little feathers this year, but it really hasn't happened. So, I think Auburn wins quite handily in this team.
Auburn wins. UVA at UNC.
UNC just came off a big late victory over Duke, and UVA with a kind of a ho-hum loss against Louisville last week. So I expect Bronco Mendenhall and the Cavaliers to get back on track this week against Mac Brown and the Tar Heels. So I'll go UVA.
UVA. Virginia Tech at Notre Dame.
Virginia Tech's been playing well since they got, beat down pretty badly by Duke about a month ago. Notre Dame just coming off a loss to Michigan. Probably just trying to get back in that winning feeling there. I think the Fighting Irish will get the victory.
Notre Dame wins. Nebraska at Purdue.
Oh boy, two teams going in the wrong direction. Both teams probably need this game to get the bowl eligibility. I think Nebraska finds a way to win this game.
West Virginia at Baylor.
The only undefeated team in the Big 12, the Baylor Bears, stay undefeated with a victory over the Mountaineers.
Rank number 12, Baylor. Michigan at Maryland.
Michigan feeling very good about themselves against a team that's going desperately in the wrong direction, trying to find their way, and I think the Wolverines keep the momentum going and beat the Terrapins.
Kansas State versus Kansas. Kansas State, which is coming out of a win against Oklahoma.
And Kansas coming off a big victory over Texas Tech, the Sunflower Showdown. I think it's going to come down to the wire, but I think the Wildcats and Kansas State continue to feed off their big victory over Oklahoma.
A number 7 Oregon against a very talented USC.
This game, USC still got all to play for because they still hold the tiebreaker over Utah. So this game is very important, and we know Oregon is trying to, stay in the playoff hunt in the Pac-12 North race. I'm going to go with the Ducks to win this game. I think they'll win by at least a touchdown.
Oregon beats the Trojans. Miami at FSU, in-state rival.
Two teams with actually both teams got victories last week, to make this game 4-4 teams. It doesn't got the same luster as it once did, but it is a rivalry, and I think the Hurricanes will come out. They played very well defensively last week at Pittsburgh, showed a lot of grit to get that victory.
Utah at Washington.
Utah, like we said, they need this game. They're still in a playoff hunt. against a Washington team that is extremely underwhelmed performed this year. Already 2 home losses, and I think it'll be 3 home losses after the Utes beat them.
Yeah, and Utah lost against USC, so it's going to be an interesting matchup there. SMU at Memphis.
We're the ESPN game day heading to Memphis this week, and this will be a primetime game on ABC featuring the best group of 5 game of the week. So you got undefeated SMU, we're 7-1 Memphis, or 6-1 Memphis. This I think that they'll put on a show. 2 teams that can score the ball, but I think the SMU Mustangs, led by Shane Burchell, will get the victory.
And finally, the game of the weekend, SEC Showdown, the cocktail party, Florida at Georgia. Florida versus Georgia in Jacksonville. Neutral ground. Neutral site.
Yeah. I will go with my Florida Gators to win this game. I'm glad you're feeling very confident. I don't think we're going to blow them out. I think this will be a game probably coming down to the last quarter. Like you said, all the marbles are in this game. And a game where Florida lost by double digits last year, even though I think it was a game much closer, and other than bad quarterback play, would have been a lot closer. So I think Kyle Trask showed against LSU even in a loss that he's not scared by big environments. I think they'll get the victory.
Florida, and what's the score for that?
I'm going to say 27-23.
That sounds about right. That sounds about right. I was going to hit towards the 30s, but I think that'd be too much on a sunny day in Jacksonville. Wow. NFL, Cleveland Browns at the Denver Broncos.
I don't think I've ever picked against the Broncos, so I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns.
It's interesting because, when you play in Denver, that's not that's one of the hardest places to play at. The altitude, the sound, the acoustics at Mile High, but we'll see. And Thursday Night Football, 49ers at Arizona.
No trick-or-treating this game for the Cardinals. I think the 49ers stay undefeated.
And who takes Game 7 in the World Series? The Washington Nationals at the Houston Astros.
I'm going to say Max Scherzer guts it out and gets the victory for the Nationals. They got a clutch hit. I think they win 2-1.
2-1. That's a low-scoring game. You know that there hasn't never been, only like once or twice, had a World Series game in November.
Yeah, it's only happened a couple of times. Luckily this year we keep baseball in October the way it should be.
Yeah, like the very last time was in September 11th. It was actually in 2001, where things got pushed back a little bit, and there was a game played on November 2nd.
Yeah, baseball should be played in October, and you push it out too far. It's hard. We could talk about reasons on another podcast of why baseball ratings in the playoffs fail, but they just have a hard time. Even if it's not during a football day, but people got football on the brains if it's not your baseball team.
Quite interesting. Ryan, what's the best way to reach you to talk to you about Brandon Allen?
The Mad Dog Report 18, get up to date on all the Gators, the Liberty Flames. We got to get back on track with the game against UMass after we lost the Rutgers, and the Denver Broncos.
There you have it. And, of course, you can reach us at thesportscast.net or on Twitter at thesportscast1 for the latest trends, latest news, and also latest about talent, what's going on in the college football realm, who's the best, who's ranked higher, why is Tua fifth place in the Heisman candidates. All these questions are at thesportscast.net. And, of course, you can follow us on live tweeting games throughout the weekend. This weekend, we'll also have NFL Game Day where Kailu will live tweet what's going on NFL Game Day. A lot of exciting things. It's like Red Zone, but on Twitter, just on text. But anyways, always a pleasure. Ryan, thanks for coming on to the Sportscast.
Thank you, Santiago, and have a good day, everybody.
Go Gators.